Hello boys and girls, what's up YouTube? Arkabu here. Retro gaming has gained its popularity in the recent years, and it's especially big in the handheld and portable kind of scene. But it didn't start there. The momentum started when companies released classical console in these mini form factors with improvements. The first improvement is HDMI video out. We no longer need to find adapters and converters and then the power supply to the converter. Very messy, a lot of wires. And then the second one is it comes with new controllers. So we got fresh buttons, D-pads are clicking, joysticks are not drifting, triggers are blasting. Perfect. The last part is it was preloaded with a batch of games. And these games were hand-picked. These are the classic ones, the banger ones. So you really got the best of the best in the past to the present. So in this video, I would like to focus on talking about retro console because this is what shaped what we are today. But before we get there, we need to talk about history. It all started in 2016, the year 2016. That's when Nintendo released this unit here, the NES Classic. Now this brought a lot of nostalgic feeling to the older generation of gamers, but also exposed the newer generation with 8-bit 2D glory game titles. This was jam-packed with great stuff. The first one being Rope Whipping Zombie, Castlevania. Then you got the pink ball floating around, sucking things up for power, Kirby. Then you got a little boy with the arm, pew 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 pew, Mega Man or Rockman. And then one of my favorites here is this motorbike game where if you throttle too hard, it overheats and then you slow down. Excite Bike. Two brothers fighting gangsters in the streets and the alleys, Double Dragon 2. And I couldn't believe it, but they put the most hardest game and frustrating game in the match. That is Contra. Contra is where you have to memorize where the bullet's coming from, the spawn of enemies, your terrain changing. It is super memorize heavy game, but in the end, it's super satisfying playing. If you haven't played Contra, give it a try. Now as you can see, NES was doing so good and so popular. So what does Nintendo do? They capitalize. They issue another classical console, and that's the SNES. Now this unit, the 16-bit, full of great titles. And what did they do? They delivered. In this system here, they added Final Fantasy 3 or 6, depending what region you're from. Great story, a lot of characters, great music, great mechanics. What can I say about an RPG? But they also added another RPG, Earthbound. Super fun, cute art, great story, RPG that really fits for all ages. But the RPG kind of trend doesn't end there. Super Mario RPG was also added to the mix. Now this is the first time in history where Mario franchise and RPG aspect mixed together. And guess what? It was a successful formula. And there's also a lot of other games included in the mix. One that really hits home for me is Mega Man X. I really like this game because of the original soundtrack, OST. But this is the game where Mega Man can dash jump with a click of a button. Now that's why I don't like to play the 1 to 6 because it's so hard to position those jumps across those gaps. And then the last game that I want to talk about is Zelda, Link to the Past. Super classic banger title that everybody must give it at least a first run through in their time. So we were speculating NES and SNES was doing so popular that the trend's going to continue, right? N64 Classic's going to come because then you could play your Mario 64, Mario Party 1, 2, 3 with your friends, Smash Your Brothers, Zelda, Ocarina of Time, or maybe we add in some wrestling because wrestling was at its peak with those mechanics. WrestleMania 2000, WWF or WWE No Mercy, which I find is still the best game today. Or we can't forget about the first-person shooting games, GoldenEye, pew pew pew, the PP7. So we were all speculating that it's gonna happen, but guess what? That dream never came about, and that's where the history ends. Those dreams and legacy were broken when the company announced that they'll be no longer developing classical console in the near future. This statement alone really gave the community that boost of curiosity, innovation, and creativity. There's that always saying, right? When there's a will, there's a way. And now with the internet being so vast and people like to make stuff here and make stuff there, and then as builder we grab a little bit here, a little bit there, put it all together, and guess what? We got ourselves the dream to reality. And that's what we're doing for this N64 Classic. So first, let's talk about the hardware. We need some electronic board. Raspberry Pi 5 got us covered. It comes in 3 variations, 4 gigabyte, 8 gigabyte, and 16. 16 is too extreme, so I went with the 8 gigabyte. But this is before the price hike. If you are buying this for the first time in 2026, I would recommend you get the 4 gigabyte just to keep the costs low. Now, if you buy the board alone, we still need a few accessories to make it all work. First is we need a video cable. This board, it comes naturally with the micro HDMI, which we need to convert to HDMI because that's where all of our TVs and projector use. The next one is the power supply. You do need a 27 watt Type C. So now we got hardware put aside. Let's talk about software. For the OS, you got 2 choices. You got RetroPie or Batocera. I went with Batocera because it's super easy. You search it up, you scroll for your device, download the image, write the image to the SD card, and boom, you're in business. Now for the SD card, what size should we get? Because price is going crazy right now in the market. I went with 64 gig because obviously we're building an N64, so why not use a 64? But if you want to use other system in the Batocera kind of library, I would recommend 128 to the 256, and that will keep costs in a reasonable manner. Hardware is talked about, software is talked about. Let's talk about the most important part, the aesthetics. And this is where Retro Flag comes in. This company makes a lot of shells for the retro OG consoles. They have NES, Game Boy, Super Nintendo, both the US edition and Japan. We got Genesis or Mega Drive, PlayStation 1, Dreamcast, and of course N64, which is what we're going to be using. So there's a lot of parts to buy. There's a lot of avenues to go. You could either use parts that you have laying around, ask a friend, or go on Amazon. I went on Amazon because everything was found there and it'll come in one package or at least a few packages, right? But it's all in one. So I'm going to put the links down below. Not affiliated, you don't have to use it, but at least you know what you're looking for in your build list. Now that we have all the components within hand reach, we're ready to conduct phase 2, building the unit. And it's super easy. All we need to use is the instruction provided in the Retro Flag box, and away we go. But I think we need to deep dive because there are some pointers where we need to talk about to make a successful build. So let's do it. Instruction warp commence. Activate. Okay, let's talk about installing this in detail. First thing first, do not have the micro SD card slotted into the Raspberry Pi 5 board when you're putting it together with the shell. So first thing first, we install those heatsink, all those sticky pads. You got to peel them and stick them on the placement 1, 2, 3. After that, you're going to put the heatsink on and put the screws in with the screwdriver. Do not screw it too hard because you're going to apply a lot of pressure on the board, and you might be able to strip those screws, which you don't want to do. Moving to step 2, we just have to connect all the ribbon to the fan cable. And then that big wire, we have to make sure it is at the top left. What I mean by top left is if you have the board here, it would be right there. The first few pins, making sure that it slides in and securely pressed down. Now you want to make sure that you line them up before you applying pressure because you could bend the pins and that's going to cause a lot of complications. Once that's all done, what we do is we have to go connect the USB to the board. And the board has 4 USB, so make sure you're at the furthest left. It's going to be a little tight, so snug it in and apply the necessary pressures to make sure you hear that click sound. Once you got that in place, you slide that down and you put your 4 screws in. This is a little bit tricky, so try to do them in the diagonal. Otherwise, you're going to have unalignment. I did it a few times just to make sure that everything lines up. Usually the 4th hole never lined up. So do the diagonal and don't go all the way for all. Just make sure that all four's in before you apply the final torque. And then after that, all we have to do is flip it over, put on the case, and put in the last screws, and there you go. Your console system is ready to go. We talked about the software, the hardware, the shell. Let's change focus to talk about input. Now that we're using the Raspberry Pi 5, we have Bluetooth ability. That means we have a lot of opportunities and a lot of choices for selecting the controller to use. So the first one that comes into my mind is the 8BitDo SN30 Pro. I mean, this is compact, it has the joysticks, and you can map the buttons and also the triggers. But again, this is compact, so people that want that better grip, this might not cut it. Don't worry, I still got you covered. That's when the Pro 2 or the Pro 3 comes into play. You got more real estate with this grip elongated. We still got our joysticks, we got our buttons mapping, and the triggers on the top. But still doesn't cut it, right, for the N64? Don't worry. 8BitDo this year released the N64 version controller. It's similar to an Xbox, but now the face button, instead of having 4, it has 6. So now that our C buttons can be mapped naturally on the front face. Now, they still don't hit that nostalgic feeling. It's not that 3-prong beak, left hand shuffling, triggers blasting from the bottom. There is one, it's the Nintendo one, the NSO N64 one. That has Bluetooth ability, but it's very pricey and supplies are limited. With this build, I do want to achieve 4 controllers because the original 64 had 4 holes in the front. And that's for your friends to bring their own control, plug it in, and have a great time. So I went to the market looking at third party and I came across this one from Amazon. So I ordered it. It came in pack of 2. And when I got it, I looked at it. It looked like the original. When I touch it, it feels like the original. And when I tap the button, it tasted like the original. And that is why I went with this one here. See, it looks like the original one, right? But I briefly talked about it. I don't think I convinced you enough that this is suitable for our build. So I think we'll go in a deeper dive with this control with a warp. Ready? Warp activation, commence! Before deep diving into this control, let's talk about how it connects to a device. It doesn't have Bluetooth, it doesn't do wire, it does wireless, but it needs a friend. It needs a receiver dongle, a 2.4 gigahertz, and once these two are paired, we have low latency input so we can enjoy the game on the big screen without that lag. Moving on with this control, we'll talk about the form factor. It's the 3-prong, so you can put your hands this way, very comfortable, and you can hold it this way too. D-pad, clicky, 1, 2, 3, 4. For me, it feels like a typical D-pad on an N64 control. Very good, it passes. Moving on to the buttons, the A, B, they're clicky, start, no issue. We do have a home and a select button, so you could hot map it to different features, macro-wise. And then we got our C buttons. They are lemony fresh. Get it? They're yellow and they're fresh. Okay, that was a bad one. Okay, moving along to our triggers. The L and R, they're up here. They feel fine. Easy to press down. I have no issue. You do have the reset button here. This is for pairing to that receiver. And then you have another hot button to assign to. Now what makes the 64 control 64? It has to be that Z trigger button. And it's at the back. Let's take a look. So right here, right underneath, it feels great. And when you put the hand placement, it feels very natural, like the OG control. Last part, most games are held like this. So the joysticks, it feels great. The only difference that I found when comparing to original is that this resistant profile is lower than the original, meaning this is a little bit looser. And unless you close your eyes and use 10,000% to really focus on the tip, you won't notice the difference. So in my part, this control is a great alternative to experience N64. And it has improvement. It's wireless, so no longer you have the cords. So there you go. Deep dive on the controller. Now that we got a good looking device and a satisfying controller, all that we're missing is the big screen gaming time vibe. I'll meet you in the ring for one fall. Let's go. Here's a complete setup with Raspberry Pi 5 installed into the N64 case paired with 4 controllers. Now since we are using 4 controllers, we need 4 receivers, each receiver requiring 1 USB slot. Now the Pi has 4 with this case, 2 on the side and 2 in the front. I didn't want to use the side ones because then I would have to remove the cover and it just doesn't look that well, right? The system looks cool when it's all shelled together. So I thought to myself, okay, I'll just use the 2 in front. And how to do 2 to 4? Well, we need a USB hub extender. So that's where I got this USB extender and able to plug all 4 receivers into the one. And this is how you would set up to play on the big screen. And for today, I said welcome to the ring because we will be playing one of my favorite, WWF No Mercy or WWE No Mercy. This one to me, the mechanics were good and also the roster. It was the Attitude Era. So without wasting time, let's get to the action. Ding, ding, ding. All right, let's test it out. So we got first control, we got the Rock. Rock's doing good, not bad, he moves. All right, who's the second one? None other than glass-shattering Stone Cold Steve Austin or Cole Austin. Oh yeah, give me a hell yeah. Oh, there you go. All right, using our third control, who is it? Oh, it is the Big Red Machine. Are you able to choke slam? Let's see. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Slam it. Yes. Now, the last contender, who would it be? None other than Kurt Angle, because who doesn't like to play N64? I do. As you can see, this setup, playing our favorite wrestling game, is the way to go. Game on. 2. As you can see, releasing classic consoles is a great concept in the market. But sadly, it was abandoned after a few iterations as we had to go DIY for the N64 Classic. But think about it, if the companies actually did it that direction, released the GameCube Classic, Wii Classic, how cool would we be? But I think it would end at Wii U because of the controller being touchscreen. That seems complicated. But if these companies actually went with this direction, they would achieve the triple F. For the fame, for the fun, for the fans, and last but not least, must be the money. Nelly, ride with me. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you for watching. I'll see you at the next one. Same place, same time. Ding, ding, ding.